He stayed in the Marines and rose to the rank of lieutenant colonel, and he was President Reagan's personal helicopter pilot, Helo 1. Since then, he's settled in Tualatin. He's a very active businessman. He's an events coordinator. He's a member of the Rotary. He's the president of our Tualatin Rotary. And then he became the state president, the district president of Rotary. He's a life member of our post. Let's welcome Lieutenant Colonel Norb Murray.
Thank you, Dale. Oh, here comes the sun. Very appropriate. Morning, everybody. I do have one correction. I'm not quite that young. I was pilot for Nixon, President Ford, and President Carter. Anyway, a young boy, he stood at the back of the church, and he looked up at several elegantly engraved plaques along the back wall. About that time, the pastor came along, and he saw the young boy, and the boy turned to him. He said, "Pastor, what are these?" The pastor, he said, "Well, those are honoring those members of our congregation who died in the service." The young boy looked up at the plaque, and his eyes got big, and he reflected on it a moment, and he turned back to the pastor, and he said, "Was that the 9 o'clock or the 11 o'clock service?"
I do.
A cute story. And I bet we all sort of conjured up a Norman Rockwell image of that small boy contemplating those engravings. But let's take a trip with that young lad as he might visit similar memorials to our fallen military, firefighters, and law enforcement officers, a nearly endless procession across our great land and around the world, in community parks and city halls, town squares, churches, synagogues, cemeteries large and small, state and national memorials and monuments, and in 24 American battle monuments in places such as France, England, Belgium, Panama, the Philippines, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Tunisia, and Mexico. Memorable names such as Arlington Cemetery, The Wall, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the USS Arizona, Iwo Jima Memorial, Gettysburg, the To Lift a Nation Memorial to fallen firefighters at the World Trade Center. Those memorials honor over 1,300,000 American military casualties lost in 46 conflicts from the American Revolution beginning in 1775 to Afghanistan and Iraq today. Yes, we must recognize and remember that because of the service and the sacrifice of our military, our law enforcement, and firefighters, that we are able to do so. In a Memorial Day speech in 1884, the Civil War veteran and soon-to-be Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, Oliver Wendell Holmes, expressed it so elegantly. But grief is not the end of all. I seem to hear a funeral march become a joyful exultation. I see beyond the forest the moving banners of a hidden column. Our dead brothers still live for us. Bid us think of life, not death, of life to which their youth lent their passion and the joy of spring. As I listen, the great chorus of life and joy begins again, and amid the awful orchestra of seen and unseen powers and destinies of good and evil, our trumpets sound once more the note of daring, hope, and will. A Navy pilot, Lieutenant Jerry Coffey, was a prisoner of war in Hanoi during the Vietnam War. And one night, while peeking out through the bars of his cell, he watched a flight of 4 F-105s on a bombing raid. One had been hit. It was trailing smoke, and the F-105 broke off. Lieutenant Coffey watched the damaged aircraft until it disappeared out of sight. Presuming the worst, he lay on his cot, reflecting on the image, and he composed a toast to the unfortunate pilot and all the others who had gone before. And although that toast he called "One More Roll" was to aviators, now retired, Captain Coffee is dedicated to all our comrades, the prisoners of war, the missing in action, living or dead, whatever their duty, whatever their war, whatever their uniform. God bless them all. We toast our hardy comrades who have fallen from the sky and were gently caught by God's own hands to be with Him on high, to dwell among the soaring crowds they have known so well before, from victory roll to tail chase at heaven's very door. And as we fly among them there, we're sure to hear their plea. Take care, my friend. Watch your six and do one more roll for me. Thank you.
Yes, Lieutenant Colonel Murray mentioned our uniformed members here of the Tualatin Police Honor Guard, and we have 4 fire department members. Ever since 9/11, they've been also honored this day, so let's give them a special applause. And if you're interested, they have a fire truck over on that side, and they're on duty, so if they have to leave, it's because they're a fire and they're working. I also want to mention that after this event, we're going to open the doors for Corporal Matthew Limke Hall. It's in the red brick building. You go around the corner here. It used to be Richard's Kitchen. Anybody interested in coming? This is an impromptu thing. We're just going to have coffee. But if you want to come visit our hall, we'd be happy to have you. As we come near our conclusion now, we're going to do 2 things. We're going to have a Pledge of Allegiance led by our commander of our post, Ron Holland. Then we're going to follow with taps, and taps will be the last event. We have a submarine World War II veteran, George Hager, who's going to do taps. So first, Ron's going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody will stand, we're going to do, put your hand over your heart, hand salute 1.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
2. Hagler is going to lead us in taps, and that'll conclude the ceremony for us. Remember to come by Corporal Matthew Limke Hall if you have time.